Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. My name is
And I'm
Sasani,
Danielle.
and we are here for another day. It is Monday, right? It's Monday. Monday
It's
morning.
Monday.
Yeah.
Martin
How was your
Luther King
weekend?
Monday.
Martin Luther King Monday. That's right. This is the day that we celebrate the great works and accomplishments that he has dedicated his life to. He created a movement. We are where we are today because of him and a small group of people who were diligent, who were audacious, who were willing to do whatever it took to fight for the liberation and salvation of our people, and we can celebrate him.
And I have a wonderful post to share with you. I posted this up on the Couples Academy page. It says, "Beside a great man stood a great woman, wife and mother, honoring the marriage, partnership, and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther and Coretta Scott King." So, guys, there's no partnership that is a singular person, right? We all have somebody who helped push us to the forefront, who helped support us. And as we support and celebrate Martin Luther King Day, we want to acknowledge couples.
That's right.
Right? Because there's always a woman standing beside that man. There's always a man standing beside that woman to forge ahead. So we honor Dr. Martin Luther King today and their partnership.
That's right. So listen, make sure you take the time to not just celebrate, but work on liberating your people, your family, your community, your nation, so that we can be a better place. All right, guys, listen, we have a question that came in. I want to go to it. Ever since the betrayal, my spouse wants to control everything that I do. If I don't, she threatens to leave. Is this how it's supposed to be forever? So we're talking about control. That's a great topic. We're going to get into that conversation. We'll be right back. Stay right there. We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, founders of Couples Academy, a private practice dedicated to saving marriages around the world.
We're not just recognized authorities on relationships. We're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission? To change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships.
This is the Couples Academy show. All right, guys, we're back. We're talking about control. Actually, our topic for today
is 10 signs of a controlling partner, guys. And listen, we talk about this all the time. It's not a man thing or a female thing. You can just be in a relationship with somebody who is controlling, and we say manipulative, and we put all these labels on it. Are they a narcissist? All of that. But at the root of the issue, it is control. Who wants to lead? Who wants to dominate? Whose word has to be on top? But before we jump into it, I want to just welcome a bunch of people. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for joining us every day. You guys know we're here Monday through Friday. Q&A Fridays is a big day. You guys are always coming through with the questions, and we love actually when you fire those questions off at us and we get to answer those. But I want to welcome JG. Good to see you. Vashawn, Darlene, Dee Dee, My King Thoughts, Angel, Danielle. Good to see you. And they're coming in. I just keep seeing Angela. Hey, I see you at the bottom there. Welcome everybody to this topic, 10 signs of a controlling partner. So why don't we jump into the first one?
Let's get right in. Listen, guys, the number one sign of a controlling partner is isolating you from family and friends. Now, oftentimes we have this idea of what a controlling partner is, that there's some overly aggressive, overpowering, domineering, bat swinging individual. But really, it doesn't necessarily have to be that, even though that is sensationalized and we see images like that in the media. The reality is a person who is really a controlling person, they're dealing with emotional fragility and heightened vulnerability. And so as a result of that, they project their insecurities, they project their own fears and issues on their spouse. And one of the ways is by what? Controlling what family and friends they're around. So they're the type that is always complaining that you're on the phone with your brother or your sister or your mother or your father. What do you have to be talking to them about? And why so long? They don't like for you to get together with a friend, just if you want to go out for, I don't know, shopping, or you just want to go out to connect. Like, there's always an issue. Why do you have to be out all the time? Why can't you stay in the house? So in essence, what they're trying to do is remove you from your support system so that the only support you have is them.
That way you can't have any balance in your life, right? Because if they're the ones telling you what it is and you have other people as sounding boards, now you get some balance. But if you cut me off from everybody, now I don't know, is it me? Am I crazy?
Yeah.
Right?
And it's interesting because you have certain people that literally do not want you to have any type of relationship with family or friends at all. Like, now that we're married, it's all about us.
Right.
But that's ridiculous, because when you marry somebody, you're marrying their family, you're marrying their community, you're marrying their world.
Yeah, we talk about it all the time, how healthy it is for you to actually have that outside connection, these other friends, because it actually helps you bring more excitement and energy into the relationship. But if you are isolated and, you know, everybody is cut off, you can no longer talk to your friends, you cannot spend as much time over at your family's house, that becomes a problem. It's a very suffocating experience.
That's right.
The second one is chronic criticism, and this is how you can identify that chronic criticism. It looks like somebody always telling you something's wrong with the way you look or the way that you dress, things of that nature. Critical about how you might decorate your home, always having something critical to say or negative to say, and then justifying it by saying, you know, I'm just trying to make you better, or turning the table on you and saying, why are you so sensitive? I'm trying to help. Those are the things that you can identify when somebody is being overly critical. It is an indication that you're in a controlling relationship.
Absolutely. Let's go to the next. Number 3, veiled or overt threats. Now, this is a big one, because oftentimes a person who's constantly threatening you, they're always threatening to leave. Right? They're always throwing around the D word. Like, if there's ever an argument, if there's ever a fight, you know what? I don't know why I'm in this relationship. I'm going to the divorce attorney. I'm filing for divorce. I'm leaving. I'm taking everything with me. And so it's a form of control and manipulation to get their way. Because when you think about it, how many times have they actually threatened divorce? How many times have they actually attempted to do it? Or they threaten to cut off privileges that you may have. Let's just say there's access to credit cards or money or just things that you do because you're a grown individual and you should have certain pleasures, and they threaten to remove it once again as a form of control. Or how about this one? And we've seen this before. They threaten to harm themselves. Like, if you leave, I'm gonna just take my life. I'm just gonna die. You know, they threaten to do all types of physical harm to themselves, which then keeps you trapped because you have a love for that person. And if I leave and something happens to you, I don't know how I'll be able to deal with it. So I've got to stay in this miserable situation.
Wow.
And another thing they may do, they may threaten to, you know, you may lose this home, you may lose access to your children, you may lose your financial support. So once again, it binds and traps you in an unhealthy relationship so that they can continue to have that level of control and authority over you.
I know a lot of people out there thinking, wow, I'm in a controlling relationship right now, just off of those few things. I mean, this is what it is, guys. We have to begin to identify the environment and the atmosphere in our relationships. I think a lot of times what we do is we ignore these things, or we've been under this suppression for so long that we don't recognize it as a problem anymore. So we're blind to it. Other people see it. You might have your friends saying to you all the time, oh my God, your husband or your wife is so controlling. Every time I'm over here, she's hovering. You know, all these things that have become our norm are not necessarily normal. Number 4, making acceptance, caring, and attraction conditional. And that's a big one. And I love, there's this one point here. It says, I love you so much more when you're making sales. Right? Like, if you are successful and you're making money and doing the right things, then I love you even more. I love you so much more when you lose 15 pounds. You know, when you're skinny, I love you so much more, right? When you're successful, when you're winning, when you're doing what I need you to do. These are conditional attributes that they're requesting of you to say that they will love you. That is control, right? Because we know that love is unconditional. So if there are conditions to the love, then that's a problem.
That's right. Number 5, creating a debt to be beholden to. And so oftentimes in the beginning of a relationship, this is where you really see this. They woo you. In the beginning of that marriage or that commitment, they're giving you extravagant gifts. They're taking you on wonderful vacations. They're giving you access to the car or to the house. And, hey, no problem, go away with your friends, do this. It's just like these grand gestures, these romantic gestures, but they're using it as a form of control later. So in essence, there is a debt that you have to pay. And when you don't do right, they remind you of all the things they've done. It's almost like a political boss. You know, I'm going to give you a favor, but make sure, you know, when the time is due, you're there for me. And my ask is going to be justified because of all the things that I've done previously.
Absolutely. Listen, I just want to let you guys know we're talking about 10 signs of a controlling partner. So if you're on here, just make sure that you say good morning. Let us know where you're coming in from. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you did not get notified on time so that you don't miss a next show. So the next one that we're talking about here is overreacting, being jealous, accusatory, and paranoid behavior. That is a sign that you're in a controlling relationship. If every time you interact with maybe the opposite sex, your spouse is accusing you of being flirtatious, that's a sign. Just being suspicious in general of you being around other people is very controlling. And that's where Hassani was talking about. Sometimes you'll be with somebody that as soon as you get married, they want you to literally cut off everyone, cut off your friends that you've had for years, because you know what? They're not married. So we should only have married friends, right? That's quite controlling. Or, you know what? You spent all this time at your mother's house. Why did you spend all day with your mother's house? Do you need to spend all day there? These are the things that are indicators that, wow, am I really in a relationship that I have the freedom to come and go and flow, or is this a controlling relationship?
Number 7, guys, not respecting your need for time alone. Now, we talk about this all the time because even though you're married and you may play the role of a spouse and of a partner, you're still an individual. And it's good to still have your own time to refresh, to rejuvenate, to revive yourself, to release, to do whatever you need to do to become the best version of yourself. I remember at the beginning of our marriage, you just wanted to get away. And I'm like, get away? Where you going? You ain't going nowhere. We married now. You staying right up in here. And you were like, no, I'm just going through. Like, I thought, I did. And we worked through that because I was just like, I was on the immediate shutdown. I'm like, we married. Where you going?
Yeah, and that speaks to personality styles because and we talk about this a lot. I'm very autonomous. Like, I can go by myself a very long way. Where Hassani is a people person. He needs to connect. He needs time. So there was a definite disconnect there because him thinking that I wanted to escape him, right? Meanwhile, he's wanting to be close to me. Really what it was is me having my own personal need to be autonomous and get space away. And actually, when we figured that out, that was a real need, that once in a while I needed to step away, go on a 3-day getaway vacation, I was able to actually be a better wife and mother because I was able to refresh. See, these are the things that you need to know about your spouse. That's why we tell you, get your Enneagram done. If you are married, you should have an Enneagram as a part of your tools in your toolbox so that you know who you're dealing with. Because if not, you really don't know why the person that you're with does what they do. You just can't understand.
Absolutely. And that's powerful because, what we realize is that if you don't take the time to retreat, you may once again get to a place where you throw up your hands and you're just ready to retreat from everything. So it's important to push pause sometimes and just spend time alone with yourself. Because there's 3 relationships we have. There's the relationship you have with God, that's your vertical relationship. The relationship you have with yourself, that's your internal relationship. And then the relationship you have with your spouse. So in order for you to have great horizontal relationships, you got to take the time to be alone and by yourself to become one. All right.
The next one.
Go ahead.
Making you feel belittled by your beliefs. Okay, so that's a big one. You might find that your spouse is quite critical over your political beliefs, your religious beliefs, maybe even your parenting beliefs, whatever it is that you would come into question within the relationship. They might be critical of it instead of just accepting that you have your perspective and I have mine, and that's okay. This is not the same as let's agree to disagree. It's really not. It's about your core beliefs, opinions, and things that you feel just being belittled and not acknowledged.
Absolutely.
That's a huge one.
Huge. Let's go to the next one. Teasing or ridicule that has an uncomfortable undercurrent. Now, this is under the guise of emotional abuse, right? So your spouse is always jabbing. They're always attacking. They're always pointing something out that's undercutting, like some side comment that's not a compliment at all, but it's really a dig. And then they say, oh, I'm just playing. Why are you taking that? It's just a joke. Come on, lighten up, right? And so if you're offended by it and you have something to say, now your reaction is the problem. So not only was their verbal attack, though they did it in some sly way, not only was that no big deal, your reaction to what they did is the problem. So no matter what you do, you still losing, right? And so that's a form of control and manipulation. And what that does is that could tear a person's self-esteem down, their worth, their value, where they begin to question who they are because, it reminds me of, what was that show back in the day? Sanford and Son. Sanford and Son. The son, he said, man, I've been called dummy all my life. I thought that was my name. Because
Wow.
that's what he heard. And so words are powerful, and they do shape and they do fashion who you become and how you see yourself. And so if you're in an environment where your spouse is constantly throwing words at you and saying things that are undermining, you need to nip that mess in the bud quick before it gets progressively
Yeah, I hear
worse.
a lot of people say, I used to be so confident, then I got married and they just tore my confidence down. I don't know what happened to it. Well, that could be an indication right there that if you're not with somebody that's speaking life to you, that's building you up, and always has to, they say tongue in cheek, right? Like, it's like they're laughing at you and with you at the same time.
Right.
And so you look crazy calling them out on their stuff, that is a strong indication that there's some issues there. And that really does diminish your personality and certain aspects of your confidence. The last one here, and it's kind of similar to the one that I read before, the inability or unwillingness to hear your point of view. And I think that, in general, we all want to feel like we're heard. I think that's really the root of most arguments, is this desire to be understood and to be heard. It's not necessarily even about the points at that point, right? Most of the time we trail off into these other side conversations, historical issues, historical wrongs, and all of that, when all I wanted you to know is how what you said made me feel, right? I just want to be heard. And if you're with somebody that every time you have something very important to bring up to them, or even things that are not so important, it could be small things, right? Small things turn into big things when they go undealt with. If you feel unheard, if there's an unwillingness to see things from your point of view or your perspective, that's an indication that you're with somebody who's controlling.
Are you controlling? Are you that individual? Are we talking about you? Have we just put your stuff on Front Street? Are we talking about your partner? Right? Is this something that you've been dealing with in your relationship for some time? Well, this is worthy of a conversation. We hope that when you actually watch these, you sit down with your partner and you engage in dialogue, not to use it as a tool of control or manipulation or to throw something at your partner, but to use it as an opportunity to unpack it, to see where you find yourself, where your spouse finds him or herself, and then to talk about how you can begin to make shifts in the relationship. Many of you may not be in the relationship that you want to be in. Maybe you want to be in a better relationship, and that's why we have the Better Marriage Club, because the Better Marriage Club can give you the support that you need. And so if you are still not signed up, you can text right now. You can text the word marriage to a number that you're going to see on the screen in just a minute. And we actually have a video that kind of unpacks what that Better Marriage Club is about. So stay tuned and we'll be right back.
Sign up today for the Better Marriage Club and receive exclusive access to the private Facebook group to get your questions answered and your problems solved. Access to our marriage library of live seminars. Watch the Couples Academy Daily Show. Call the help hotline for laser coaching. Get our weekly action guides and receive a private one-on-one call with one of our marriage coaches. To join the Better Marriage Club, simply text marriage to 973-490-4668. Join today. Your marriage deserves it.
That's right, guys, the Better Marriage Club. So you can sign up. Also, Danielle just mentioned the power of the Enneagram personality assessment. If you don't know what that is, that's probably one of the most instrumental assessments that you can take to get a deeper dive on who you are and who your spouse is, so that you have a scientific approach to having a phenomenal relationship. So make sure you sign up for that.
There's a great question here by JG. I got to read it. It says, do I have the right to some forms of control after infidelity, especially when I need to see change? And I think that is a really good question, because what we're talking about here is a controlling person, right? Who tries to control every aspect of your life, but truly after an affair, there's something that shifts in that person who has experienced an affair. It's almost like it awakens things that you never noticed before. We talk about it all the time. You know, you might have been able to deal with your partner coming and going without asking questions and not caring. If they said they were going to the store and it's been 25 minutes and it should have been 10 minutes, that really never would have bothered you. But after an affair, there are triggers. And so this is definitely going to bother you. And so I think that after an affair, you have to set up boundaries and guidelines that are agreed upon. And to me, that removes the aspect of I'm controlling you. Because here we are working on recovering from this marriage. So we sit down and we say, okay, here are the new rules, right? We need to have new rules. When I say I'm going to go somewhere, I will text you. Whatever it is that you set up to make sure that there is transparency and your partner who has experienced the affair feels like they can trust you and has access to what you're doing, that has to happen. I don't think that that's the same as control because you've come together to agree about these things.
Absolutely. Now, here's the fact. Whenever a person has been cheated on, they feel like they've lost their sense of control because there was an order to their relationship. There was an expectation. There was a pattern, a dance that you got used to. And then all of a sudden, boom, you were hit, you were sideswiped, you were completely thrown off guard. And it feels like your world is just spiraling out of control. And your sense to get control back, you control everything. You try to control yourself. You try to control your spouse. You try to control your environment. You're controlling everything. So yes, there's a what we would say a knee-jerk reaction to control your partner, and some of that can be good. But you got to get to a place where you get out of the driver's seat. Your spouse gets out of the driver's seat, and you both get in the back seat, putting your seatbelt on, allowing somebody else to steer that. You know, when you do that, then all of a sudden things begin to go well. You need somebody guiding you through a process that creates a sense of control and expectation for the relationship, and you both subscribe to that so things begin to work out and win. When you do that, that's when things go to the next level.
We got another comment from Cassandra. She says, what do you do when we watch the videos together and the betrayed spouse gets angry and defensive about the things they need to be doing? They feel like they don't have any work to do. Okay. They feel like they don't have any work to do. I mean, obviously that's an issue, and that it just sounds like defensiveness in general. I mean, this is why we tell people not to do it alone. This is a great start, tuning in every day, watching these videos and getting these nuggets. But what you're left with is a lot of information and a lot of tips that you have to now apply in life. And you just think about, if you're going to a gym, you need that, fitness instructor to push you and to guide you and to, help you twist your arm in the right way so that you get a certain muscle and all of that to help you build and contour your body. It's the same way with marital counseling. You really should not be trying to piecemeal aspects of everybody's opinion, because there's a lot of folks talking out there. You both, and I mean that specifically, both need to get under the same counseling that have the same message so that you can go in the same direction. And I think the next step for you would just be to reach out, and we offer a free discovery call and see what we could do to support you.
Absolutely. If you're watching a video and you have in mind, that's him. Yep, you watching that? See that's exactly what. Sometimes it could be the environment that you're in when that video is being played. So what we like to say is, why don't you share what resonates with you about yourself and give your spouse an invitation to share what resonates with him or her about themselves. That way, it's not a finger-pointing, accusatory type of environment because he may feel attacked by what you're saying, so therefore he's going to defend himself. Now becomes this tug-of-war, back-and-forth, finger-pointing fight. And so that's why we say, get what you need to get for you. Listen, you know what? I'm glad I saw this video because what I got out of it for me was XYZ. What did you get out of it? Let's have a conversation about that. So sometimes it could be the environment that's created that doesn't make for a healthy conversation.
A comment from JD, which I think is worth saying because it's pretty much what you're saying. Like, look at yourself, draw the circle around your own feet and look to yourself. He says, I have been told my joking has made my spouse feel bullied or picked on because it was the thing that she was needing to build up and not be joked about. So he says, thank you for letting me know. Now I know that I was wrong. And I think that's the big thing here. Like, what are you taking from this? Are you taking, let me go tell my spouse what they need to do to get right? Or are you here listening to see what you can do different, how you can learn and how you can grow? And I think there's a lot of folks out there that are sitting here thinking, wow, I have a very controlling spouse. And you can look at different points that we pointed out today and say, yep, they do that. Yep, they do that. Yep, they do that. But what do you do, right? There's always two sides to the story. And this is why we need to get under strong counseling. I think about the flip side of all of this. Somebody being controlling could be somebody being hypersensitive, right? That I can't tell you nothing without you feeling like you're being controlled. All of us have brokenness and weakness that we need to dial into so that we can strengthen that and be better together. And that's what counseling does.
Absolutely. Mysterious Latrice 83 says that actually works to start with yourself and invite them. Absolutely. I can't agree with you more. Then my King Thought says, I wouldn't call it controlling. I would call it holding the other person accountable to ensure you and what they're doing will not cause any more harm or damage. And yes, I mean, that's ultimately what it's about. It's about accountability. But at the end of the day, it's all about how you approach it. You can create a system of accountability, but still have a controlling posture. And so if any of those things that we just spoke to identify with your behavior or spouse's behavior, just change your approach. Sometimes it's not what you do, it's how you do it. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And facial expressions, body language, and tonality can get in the way of a great message.
Yeah, and sometimes you're controlling and you actually have the best of intentions. Like you actually are trying to help that person. You think your way is the right way. And the fact is that your way is maybe one of the right ways, but it's not the only way. And you have to allow your spouse some autonomy to allow themselves to make their own choices and even make their own mistakes sometimes. Is how we grow. Is how we grow forward, is actually making decisions and learning. Somebody will be able to say to you, I told you so, if you make the wrong decision. And then you learn from it and you grow from it. But if we feel like we got to control every aspect of everybody's life, that they don't know good enough or they don't know enough to make the right decisions for themselves, then you are removing all of their autonomy and being controlling.
Yeah, that's very true. We got one more comment here from Dwayne. So what do I do as the partner of an avoidant who I feel doesn't see their issue? This is why I think it's all about the environment, right? So inviting your spouse into a conversation. Sometimes when we have conversations, we need to talk about it now because I have something on my mind I want to discuss, and the timing isn't right, the location isn't right, the mood isn't right. You kind of have to assess, because I know my spouse likes to avoid issues and conflict, what's the best scenario? What's the best environment to engage in a conversation when they will be the most open, right? Or if they're resistant to you, see if they're willing to get in front of somebody else because maybe they don't feel like they're in a safe environment because they're going to be told off, beat up, shouted over, made to feel wrong about everything. So sometimes people shut down because they don't feel safe. It's just like, what's the point? It doesn't matter what I say. You're going to think what you're going to think anyway. And so sometimes we're looking at our spouse as the problem, but we also are contributors to the dynamic in the relationship. And that's why a third party is so important because they're taking a non-biased approach. They're not on either one of your sides, and they're there to bring balance and harmony and cohesiveness to that particular situation.
Absolutely. Jackie, just reach out to us. I saw your comment. Sativa says, what kind of approach or platform work best? Question. iMessage. Any others you recommend? Okay.
What kind of approaches or platforms work best for what?
Okay, I'm 44, so you gotta type out the exact what you mean. Like it can't be texting language.
Platform for what? To communicate?
Right. iMessage.
It depends on the couple. Like we use Marco Polo. That works for us. Some people FaceTime. Some people use phone calls. Some people use Skype. Some people sit down in front of each other eye to eye when they're together. There's people who literally live in the same house. They're married to their spouse, and the only way they communicate is through text. Like, I'm going to send you a text, you respond to it, and that's the only, because I can't be in your presence, I can't be in your environment, and it's a problem.
Right. She continues to say, because I'm the controlling one because of his past addictions. So, okay, I'm understanding. I think what you're saying is, how can you pretty much have eyes on him? And to Simon's point, I mean, there are 1,000 platforms out there. It's just about coming to the agreement. If you're with somebody who is indifferent and they are not trying to work with you, they are not trying to get on the right path, then that's a whole other issue. But if you are working with that person, they should be willing to get on some platform and be able to check in with you based on some type of schedule that you decide. That's how you'll avoid being accused of being controlling, because you both agreed, and now it's about sticking to what you agreed to.
There it is. Now, today we were talking about the signs of a controlling partner. Tomorrow, if you tune in, we're going to be talking about what to do if you're in this controlling relationship. So hopefully you got something out of today's message. We want you to share, like, and subscribe. You're watching this live, but there is a replay. So take the time to share it with your community so that all of us can begin to change and transform in our lives, in our relationships. Listen, guys, hope you have a great day. We will talk to you in the AM. See you then.
If you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you're interested in one of our restoration programs, contact us today at couplesacademy.org.